So this week's event is all about what's new in SharePoint. So I'll be taking you through this one today. We've got a number of events coming up over the next few weeks, yeah, if you follow us on the website and on the social channels, LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, you'll see some of our kind of the next events that are coming up in the future. So let's jump straight in. So the agenda today then. So we'll just do an about iCoTech services, just to give a summary of who we are, what we do. We'll do a SharePoint overview, so it's always nice to kind of set the scene, I think, in terms of what is SharePoint, and kind of where does it come from, what is it used for, and then we'll go on to the latest features in SharePoint. So we've collated a set of our favorite latest features in the tool SharePoint and what you can do with it. And then for those who haven't really seen it or don't really use it in that much detail, I'll do a demo at that point. Apologies to those who've used it and are kind of really embedded in the technology. Then you might not find that so useful. So if you want to, I won't be offended if you drop off because you know what SharePoint is. But at that point, I'll be showing you the basics of SharePoint and just how you can use it in your organization, and hopefully that's useful. And then any other kind of questions and answers, Q&As at the end, then we'll get that. We'll get that done at that point as well. So any questions throughout the session, please do feel free to put them into the chat window or use the raise your hand feature, and we'll be able to come to you and we can have a conversation about your question. So just a bit of a background about me. So I started off in Dual Company Welsh Water as a PMO analyst many years ago, project support officer. And then I went on to Lloyds Banking Group. I did a short stint in Lloyds Banking Group working on the sale of the TSB arm of Lloyds Bank, which was quite exciting. And then I spent 5 years in Babcock International Group and ended up being the head of projects and governance in Babcock International. And then my first client as iCoTech was Company's House, where I ended up being the head of P3 or head of portfolio of change, which is quite exciting. iCoTech then really grew from that point onwards. So now we work with Bays, ONS, Betty's and Taylor's, DEFRA, Simbeck Orion, ACAS, and IPO as well. So a number of other customers in that space as well. But we're predominantly in the public sector. Yeah, that's kind of where iCoTech is today. What we do is really broken down into 4 separate components. So we build solutions, so utilizing the Microsoft technology stack within 365. We build, ideas hubs, lessons learned logs, corporate risk management systems, all the way through to project portfolio management tools for, as I say, predominantly public sector organizations. We've got a product work stream, so we do have a couple of products that are in development at the moment. This is particularly in the healthcare space, which we're quite excited about. But this is using the Microsoft 365 technology stack to deliver a product to a high number of users across a user base, which is quite cool. Services, so when we've built these solutions in the Microsoft 365 technology stack, our customers often need us to stay on board just to help them with the support and iteration of these solutions and technologies as they need their requirement to change, or a change to a report, or a change to a SharePoint list, or whatever it might be. So we have a number of customers that are in a support and iteration contract with us at the moment, and that's just like a service desk facility. And then we've got consulting, so this is kind of everything else really. So everything in terms of requirements capturing, doing a bit of training, a bit of change management, a bit of roadmap and visions and those kind of things, workshops to elicit requirements and do discovery kind of sessions with them. So a lot of work we do is in this consulting space as well. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. In terms of the specialists, so we're a Microsoft Gold partner, we're a Gold partner in project and PPM, and we're a Silver partner in application development. And then we obviously have capability in Power BI and Dynamics 365 as well. So that's what we specialize in. But of course, delivering these solutions in the Microsoft technology stack, we have to have experience in OneDrive, Power Automate, Teams, and SharePoint, which is what we're talking about today. And of course, we use SharePoint quite heavily in our business as well. So most of the kind of features I'm going to talk about today are probably first-hand experience of features, how we use them in the business. Cool. So SharePoint, what is SharePoint? So so SharePoint is a web-based collaboration platform. It's integral, integrates with, or is part of. It's probably in my kind of thought process. It's part of Office 365. and it's really an integral part of the solution, and it's used in lots of different parts of 365 without the end user really knowing about the capabilities and what it's being used for. But primarily it's a document management system and a storage system, but it is highly configurable, and everybody uses it in a different way. So we'll use it at iCoTech to a totally different way to you'll be using it on the call here today. But predominantly documents, predominantly lists and other kind of records of information being captured and being tracked and modified and taken through a process and a journey. And on the flip side, then, it is a collaboration tool, so it allows you to build collaboration sites, Teams sites, and communicate with your organization, creating a little intranet page, for example. You could do that in SharePoint. Right, so it's a really, really powerful tool, and it's designed for the end users, the super users in a business, to be able to take a site and build a site based on a template. It's not designed to be locked down and to be constrained by the IT department, for example. Some of the organizations that we have worked with, did at the start of the journey lock down SharePoint and wouldn't allow people to create lists and to create document libraries, and that's not how it's intended to work. It's meant to be a solution that you can give ownership and accountability to site collection owners or site owners, and build their own mini systems very easily to relieve the pressure on IT. That's the vision of the tool from a technology perspective, from Microsoft perspective as well. Of course, you've got to do that within control. You've got to apply governance, and you've got to have center of excellence in the middle there, just understanding how it's actually being used. But please, I encourage everybody to let people use SharePoint in the organizations that you're working for. Don't lock it down and constrain it. But some of the things you can do in the site. So when you've got a site, you're a site owner, you can build intranet sites, you can create pages. I talked about document libraries earlier and lists. You can plug in web parts. So you've got a set of web parts you can put on a page that might be a list or a document library, and you can use those to create your system, to create your solution in the SharePoint technology. You could show visuals, so you could show Power BI charts, you could show news, put news feeds in there, and then you can have collaboration and communication sites as well. So a lot of different components you can bring together into one place to make it work for you and to meet the requirements of your business and your organization. You could follow kind of certain sites, certain streams, certain feeds. You can put you can search for content. So we use it a lot for document libraries, document repositories, and you can search across SharePoint using the search feature, which is quite cool. And you can use it for workflows. And taking, using Nintex workflows or Power Automate to take a record through a series of stages and notify people based on that record changing status, for example. So if a record was, overdue in terms of an action, maybe an action log, it could automatically tell you, actually, guys, you're overdue on this action. Let's go get it done. Let's go get it completed. And then you can build your own forms as well. So you can use SharePoint forms to build a form where you can add in the data to a list or to a repository. And SharePoint is really that backbone of most of the communication type applications in 365 as well. And you can use it on on the news on the go with a mobile app and so on and so forth. So what's the benefits? So the key benefits to me, to us here at iCoTech of SharePoint is really the ability to collaborate, the ability to jump on one document and all be working on the same document together. Storing files on SharePoint and sending the link is so beneficial to us, not having multiple versions of the same file. We can communicate, so we can use SharePoint as a platform for teams, and also we can look at posts on a SharePoint site and collaborate with each other, and we can share with third parties. So a lot of our customers we work with will have access to our SharePoint environment, obviously controlled, and they can use their work email address to log into our SharePoint site, so we can all upload documents together and collaborate and communicate with our third parties or our customers or whoever your third parties are in your business. And it's accessible from all devices. So my mobile phone, I've got the SharePoint app. So if you haven't got the SharePoint app on your phone, download it. It's pretty cool. And you could be looking at documents, and you can look at those lists on your phone. That's all stored in the cloud, which is quite cool. And of course, you know, if I was at my parents' house the other night having some dinner and I forgot about a document I needed to review, jumped on my father's Mac, logged in. SharePoint, there it is. Is the Word document for the document trying to review. Quickly annotated some parts of it, and then sent it off through Teams using Office.com as a portal to log into that environment. So that's all really about how we access it from multiple devices. Of course, it's secure. It's got storage. It's got permissions in there as well, so you can control who can see what, which is really important for any business. And it's just a way of organizing your data, your information, and your content that you're collaborating on as well, which is really good. So there's some of the key benefits to the SharePoint toolkit as we see it anyway. So I think there's some kind of fundamentals really. SharePoint can be used in a few different ways here. So SharePoint on one hand here on the bottom left is about, you know, storing your files and logging on to the SharePoint service directly, storing list items and tracking records and doing all those things we talked about earlier. But it also underpins Teams. So when you upload a document in a Teams channel, you're actually uploading it to a SharePoint site. You just don't know it. And of course, the same then with OneDrive. So when you upload a file to OneDrive, you're actually uploading it to SharePoint. You just don't know it. You just don't see it. But it's all the permission modeling, all the security processes within SharePoint are all readily available and used in Teams and OneDrive as well. So that's why you can upload a file to OneDrive and you click on the right click button and you can share it, and you can share a link. It's actually because it's stored in SharePoint. It's just your own little personal SharePoint drive, hence OneDrive as a title. Every time you create a site or a team in Teams, you are creating a SharePoint site, which you are uploading documents to. So yes, just it's almost a platform that's used across multiple applications within 365. So I guess the use cases, what it could be used to do. So we talked earlier about the types of sites. So if you've got a HR team and you want to be able to communicate and collaborate together, you could build that intranet site and you could put all those web parts onto that site and use it as your team site. You can add those web parts and you can customize the content. So the idea is you start off with a platform. So we're just doing a SharePoint rollout at the moment, and you've got like the center, the hub, the template site, and then you've got all the kind of team sites hanging off that in that hub and spoke model. But each of the kind of individual team sites, although they're based on a template, they can add other content types to that template site, and we've talked about showing visuals and updates, etc. So we've talked about all those other things as well, like managing your workflows, your daily routines. Across our customer base, there's a lot of customers that use and heavily depend on SharePoint as well. It is a reliable service, so you can have your lists and your workflows, coming across daily activities or monthly activities, say month end and accounting process. Having all the activities in a list and then it firing off a series of workflows to individuals to do those tasks by a date in order to make sure the overall process of that month-end journey works for the customer. So it is really powerful, and once you start using it and using it how it's meant to be used, it becomes an integral part of your business, which is really good. So I talked about the mobile app earlier. I love the mobile app. I think actually it's probably the least used, although that's an assumption, but I'm probably the only one in iCoTech, other than I know Rob and Craig use it sometimes because I force them to use it. But it is where you're on the go and you want to be able to download a file quickly or edit a file quickly on the go. That's how you can use the mobile app to stay in touch and to collaborate, on your device where you need to. So I think this is another diagram to articulate the kind of way in which SharePoint can be used. So you've got OneDrive in the middle, which is, as I said earlier, is your private document kind of collaboration site, and you've got Teams, which is your actual internal team, so you're talking with other people in your business, and then you've got SharePoint that sits around the outside or underneath. Effectively, imagine those as the layers. SharePoint sits underneath the whole thing. The next thing you can do is create an extranet using SharePoint, so you can create a totally external facing website using SharePoint, and that's using the same technology, but obviously, of course, outside of your domain. So yeah, and information can flow out of that and can be, that diagram's tried to explain there, where you've got SharePoint, it's defined data, it's defined information, it looks nice, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's almost the published documents that you want to send out to your team, your policies maybe go on SharePoint, and then your extranet is where you're kind of in terms of business, or your documents that you really want to share with your user group would probably be on your extranet, and working back to your OneDrive is where you're doing your collaborating, your drafting, and all that kind of good stuff. And that's what that diagram's trying to show, is that it's all stored in SharePoint, but effectively OneDrive is for creating the document, Teams is for creating it and sharing it and collaborating, and then SharePoint is ultimately where you might put the final version as a document in that repository. Although, caveat, all those three services are based on SharePoint's technology. Hopefully that makes sense. I might have waffled on for too long there, but apologies. But no, hopefully that makes sense. So the latest features then, so we've got a few slides here just showing and taking us through some of the latest features that we've seen in SharePoint over the last few months, and hopefully you find it useful. So okay, control default sharing links with sensitivity labels. So I guess this is a way of being able to share a link to a document with the ability to put a sensitivity label against it. So they're getting a lot better now in SharePoint of understanding what is sensitive, what is private, what is confidential. And you can create those different links there, as the GIF's doing on the screen. So being able to create those links and tag that link with a sensitivity label is really important in security and information assurance as well. So you're not sharing kind of documents with sensitive artifacts in them, like credit card details or whatever it might be of an individual, or date of birth and names and addresses. So you can really start to see where Microsoft are going with how important SharePoint is, and the type of data that will and could be stored on SharePoint in the future. All right, so that's really exciting feature to see. More in that space to come over the next few months though. So co-authoring and autosave. So again, information security is really important here. Encryption, making sure that we're actually co-authoring and collaborating on documents. And something that I don't think many people use is the co-authoring space. So where you've got one document being collaborated on by two people at the same time, and not having to share a screen, which is quite cool. So sometimes if we're writing a proposal or a project document, a PID, me and Craig will be on the same call, but we won't necessarily be sharing screens, but we're looking at the same document and we're co-authoring on that document. All right, which is really great. And I guess having the ability to do that in a secure way and managing the information that's put onto the document is really important as well. So that's one of the latest features that we like to see, we like to use. One of the ones that the marketing team use, and they forced me to put it in here, is the ability to edit images in SharePoint and OneDrive. So at the moment, editing images has always been quite difficult in Word. We've had to download Paint. I mean, we've all had to use Paint, haven't we? But now being able to just in OneDrive directly, rotating and cropping, adjusting the light and the color of those images without having to export them into Paint and change them and all that kind of good stuff that we used to do is also a cool little new feature in SharePoint. All right. So calendar list, so calendar view in the web part. So this is a mini dashboard for internal events. We can share the project schedules. It's all in 365, and it's just a better way of visualizing the activity. So if you've got a list and it's a calendar list, you can change that to a calendar view basically. So a list web part is the ability to put a list into a page, and then you can change that to a calendar view, particularly if you've got some dates in there, of course. like maybe actions being completed by a date. Before you used to be able to, you only used to be able to order them or sort the rows by date, but now you can flip it and give it a calendar view in the list web part, which is quite cool. So yeah, that's another one. The next one is the link into the favorites. So you can, the SharePoint app bar is on the left hand side there, and you can just, let me go back, I've clicked, there's me thinking I'm doing a live demo. On the left hand side there, you can log or store the lists views in that navigation bar on the left hand side, and that navigation bar will always stay there even if you maximize the view in SharePoint. You'll expand, and then you can see the icon on the left hand side there, which is going directly to the list you might want to save in that repository, which is also quite good and quite exciting to see. So Teams, we all know and love Teams as a result of the pandemic. We're all using it, hopefully. Well, obviously, we're all on the call on Teams. Yeah, we can edit the SharePoint page from within Teams. So, you know, I guess this is the idea that everything will be through Teams in the future, and SharePoint, you know, surfacing it through Teams in a nicer way, a nicer presentation is always useful. So you don't have to go off to the SharePoint directly into the site to change the SharePoint site anymore, or to add a new web part. You could do that directly through Teams. So trying to avoid people having to go around to edit the SharePoint site is the purpose of this one, really. Okay, so really that's it. So just in quick fire summary. So if I just go back quickly, so the editing it in Teams is really a good new feature. Being able to add the links to the left hand side of the navigation bar. This list in calendar view is really useful. So if you've got a list that's got dates in it, you can flip that and add a view for calendar view. The editing in OneDrive and SharePoint. So you know, it's pretty good, because before, maybe a year ago, I remember downloading images to Paint and having to edit them and then save them and then upload them. You can all do that in OneDrive now as well. Co-authoring, and then the sensitivity labels as well, which are really good, especially if you're holding, you know, kind of confidential or personally identifiable information in SharePoint. You've got more control over how you share the data and who you share it with as well. Hopefully that helps. So the next thing is just do a bit of a demo just to show you what SharePoint is and how you can use it, the look and feel. So I'm going to stop presenting now. I'm just going to share my screen. The transition over here isn't as good. Bear with me a minute. So this one here, and I'm going to go, here we go. So this is a demo SharePoint site. So it's not perfect, but it's just meant to just take us through some of these capabilities of the SharePoint environment. So this is the navigation bar on the left hand side that always stays there. One of the things that, to be honest, I only realized about 6 months ago was this little button here, expand content, especially if you go onto a kind of a different page. It's not so useful here, but you can expand the content and it gets rid of that bar on the left hand side. It just maximizes the screen, especially if you have got a really heavy content page here with lots of different web parts. This is actually a nice little button to use and to expand and get rid of the new or the send to items, or even this banner at the top here. So click that and all that banner goes, and it's just a nice way of expanding the page here. The other thing you can do is analytics. So if you click on this analytics, obviously this is a demo site, so it's not used a lot, but some of the content here is quite cool. So we can see the page views, we can see the average time spent per user. So it's really about understanding who's using the page, and you know, being able to see the time of day there on the page as well. So you know, it is about creating those content sharing solutions, not just about having a place that you can go to store your documents. Because if it was just a document library, which somebody once said to me, SharePoint is just a document library, and I had to explain to them it wasn't, you know, they wouldn't have put all this kind of technology analysis of user times and user engagement on these platforms. It is really designed to be the hub of information in a team or an organization. You could do lots of other things like immersive viewers and get yourself into all sorts of things in this space, and change the type of views that the SharePoint page gets. You know, takes you through. So these are the web parts. So these are the pages. We've just got test PMO pages, and we're able to come in here now, and there's a little tile that you're able to click through to a sub-site. So this is a test PMO site underneath the demo team site. So there's that hub and spoke model I talked about earlier, where the hub of the team is here. It's the iCoTech PMO page in this demo example, and then you've got the test PMO site, and then you might have project 2 or project 3 or project 4. This is Toby getting clever with his countdowns. So the big bang, 44 days to go live. You can see it's counting down here as well. So yeah, he likes to put all these little clever widgets and web parts in here. And again, you could do things like promoting the page, publicizing it, pushing it up through the priority in the landing page that we were on earlier on. So these are the web parts. You're able to build these web parts, and this is a document library web part. So you can see here we brought through, this is a document library within this page that we're able to bring through here and actually use all the services that we are in Teams or SharePoint directly in terms of opening in the browser, and all the other kind of check-in, check-out functionality. As you can see here, we're able to kind of put in document libraries, one of the changes, you're able to put columns in document libraries now. Like a year ago, you weren't able to put columns in a document library, it was a list only, but now you're able to put values like, is this document approved? What's the review date? Who's the owner of the document? Is it a template or a policy? You can put all that in there as well, which is really good stuff to see. Yeah, really cool. These are the kind of the tasks that are in here. So these are the kind of lessons in this case, and we're able to kind of click on the lesson and take us to the actual the lesson itself, and update this and say, is it internal, is it external? And I like this as well, this kind of colorization of the values. It's just a little bit easier to see urgent versus green is okay, red is bad, and maybe amber's halfway between. So, or blue is completed in our case. That's kind of how we adopt those rags. But it's nice to see it's not just a text. It's actually got some substance to it. The other thing that I really like, and I love it for my action log, is the ability to add comments. So here we can add, Toby, please update this task. He's going to get a notification now. He's probably going to come over and be like, what are you doing? What are you tagging me and stuff for? So I hope he knows I'm on a webinar. But so yeah, you're able to kind of see the track, the comments against this, as opposed to before we were forced to put an update in this form, and you couldn't necessarily track all the activities in here as well. So although you can turn on versioning, but so as to have that running kind of track record of the commentary against the record, in this case a lesson, it could be an action, it could be a decision, it could be whatever you want in your business, but that is a really, really, really nice feature. And this is the list, the base list, then I've just gone up a few levels, that was available in that PMO site here. All right, so this is the test list lessons, and this is the list. So if I go in here and put a new list item in here, demo list item, and then just do the date that the lesson was learned. Let's say we'll learn it in the future. Oh, no, I can't handle that. Let's go back. Sorry, my OCD, and let's go put that back in the past. So we learned it on Monday, and it was raised by me. So I can't think of someone off the top of my head, but test or demo lesson, and we're able to see this do it better next time. Okay, cool. So an internal one is something that maybe we didn't do quite right internally, and we've got an attachment we'll leave for now. So that's gone in there now as my demo list item. When I come back to the test site, in theory, he says, as I need to refresh this page probably. Fingers crossed it'll come up, put it that way. All right. So there it is. Phew, that was risky. That was a heart-stopping moment. So you can see here my little lesson I've put in my list has come through to the web part to show me all the list items in the system. All right. So what I'm going to do now is just going to go back to that demo site, the team site here, and we're just going to look through all the other new features we can apply. So if you were to edit the page here, you can add different sections, you can add different parts, you can edit a web part, You can change the image here. You could do all sorts of things. I mean, we could be here for hours talking about these activities, but effectively I'm going to change that web part, the banner picture here, to this picture, and I'm going to drag and drop this and make it look half decent. I'll have a good old pie chart there. So republish that, and that's me as a system owner for my site. I'm now changing the banner of the page itself. All right, it's as simple as that. And you can edit and publish as much as you want, and even as we've done here, insert a YouTube video that you can take from an external site like YouTube and publish a video here. All right, so yeah, lots of great little features in SharePoint these days. You can even comment on the actual page, so the same technology that was commenting on a record in a list, you can use that technology to say, thanks, Lauren, for setting this up. You know, great work. And you can post that to the page itself. Lauren now gets a notification because she's tagged in it, and she can come on and hopefully like it for me and give it the thumbs up, because she's really happy. She's done a good job in that simple analogy. All right. So the other things we're going to do now is we're going to go back a bit and just go, if you're in the kind of the home and you're administrator, this is where you'd see all your sites. All right, so you can see all our sites here that we use across the business operations, you know, our kind of high level PMO site and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm just going to drop back into the team site now. So now I'm in that kind of middle layer effectively, and I've got the ability to add new components. So you can see here I can add apps as well. You know, so I can add a specific app from an app source or a store. And if you're in an enterprise organization, you might have a certain set of apps that you are allowed to deploy. But in iCoTech, for example, we kind of don't have them at the moment, but you can actually go to a SharePoint store, just like an app source store, and you can download and bolt in all these different apps, and some of them are really useful and allow you to do certain things in your business. So I'd encourage you to go and have a look at the app store for or they call it the SharePoint store, for these types of applications that are developed by companies like iCoTech across the world, that will make your life easier. Even that, I mean, QR code generator, that's pretty cool. And imagine what you could do with that if you've got an asset tracking system, or, you know, a labeling system. All right, so and that is one, actually the Project Online update one is one we've used before to mass update records in Project Online, which is a PPM solution that we configure as well. So yeah, that's really cool. Let's go back a little bit. So you can create a new page, you can create a new document library. Let's go ahead and create a new document library. We might call it the test document library. It's going to be on the navigation page, and this is where you can start to add your columns that I was talking about earlier. So if I can upload or add a new document, word here, so new document, just going to call it, make sure it saves. I'm never sure if it actually saves. There we go. So it saves on creation, which is really cool. I'm going to close that down. I'm going to add a column now called, you know, yes, no. So is this document approved? Is this document approved by the board? Let me go yes and no. Default value is no. Save that. So you're adding like columns against the document itself. And I can come in here and I can go edit, not the document. I even need to remember how to actually do that. So you can actually, where's the properties? Here we go. Is it properties? I always get confused. Here we go. Oh God, that was stressful. That was. So you could go to the properties and you can change the attribute that you just added in there. So I'm going to say yes, it is approved by the board. Save that now. It's got a little tick box in there because it's a yes, no, and I close that down. It's got a little tick there. I thought I got off tangent then and I got myself into a hole. But no, so that's how you could create the columns for a document library, and you use that quite powerfully across the organization. So you've got polls as well. So if you've got forms, you can create a form and you can submit the form to, you know, if you wanted to, you know, create a Christmas party form, which we've done recently. You can put it on your internet site and say, where does everybody want to go? And you can publish it that way. and then the calendar web part is here as well, and so on and so forth. News posts, news links. You can even pull in kind of project plans. So let's test the project plan. And you can even pull in existing plans. So if you wanted to use the kind of project for the web component, okay, typical. I don't have the right permissions to do that. Okay, so I'll definitely ignore that one. But you can bring in a project for the web component plan into this tool, and I'm pretty sure there's another video of project for the web and what that does separately available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. I've kind of gone really quickly through. The last thing I want to do is the list management. So really, this is what I feel the value is of SharePoint. If you're using an Excel spreadsheet to track actions or track decisions, get on SharePoint. If you're using kind of Excel or Word to track things, just come in here and just have a go at putting it into SharePoint. So I'll use a template for now just because it's easier, but you can use a template and you can modify that template as well. So this is an issues tracker, say for example across a business. So let's call it a Joel's issues tracker, although that'd be quite long if that was real. So there we go. So here we go. So you've got actions of the issues here. You've got all the pages, all the columns that are already set up and pre-configured. So we'll just go with adding a new issue. So lesson issue 2, and you can see this form has already been pre-populated, and we can define the priority. Is it a new one, or is it is it in progress? Who's it assigned to? I'm going to assign it back to Toby. Date reported is today. You might put it on a URL into Google, add an image, and so on and so forth. All right. So description test 2. Save that in here, and it comes up in this list, and we're able to kind of record all of our activities, all our risks, all our actions, all our decisions across the business using this service. Some of the other new features which are really quite powerful is the Power Automate. So you can create your rules using the Power Automate engine, and you might want to do that in terms of when a new item is created, when a column changes or a value changes, or even an item is deleted. So when this item is deleted, we can send an email to me, and that rule then will be in place now. So when I delete this record now, fingers crossed, it should send a notification to me. Knowing my luck, it probably won't, but that's the idea. All right, so you should be able to delete this now, and it's going to send that notification to me at some point in the near future. He says, waiting. Well, actually, my Outlook isn't open, but I'll open my Outlook later. You'll have to trust me that it comes through. But yeah, so that's the idea. Is you're able to create all these different rules and be able to manage them back in here then, and change it to say, assign to. You could delete the rule, and so on and so forth. All right. You can even bring this into Power Apps. So you can use this data set, this list of records, to build your own Power App. And you can even do more complex workflows in Power Automate as well. And you can even visualize the data of the list in Power BI, which is really, really cool. And Power BI is a whole another ball game. But we can basically bring this together. There's my issues list, there's the fields, and I can go, if you know how to use Power BI, you can start dragging and dropping in this into creating visuals at this using Power Automate at this point. So I'm kind of just trying to give you a general view of SharePoint. The only thing I wanted to pick up next was Spaces. So Spaces is a really new service and platform. But I'm going to do this very quickly, and we're going to do a session on this in the new year, and show you what Spaces is and what it can be used for. But it's a visual environment, a 3D environment. I clicked the wrong template. I wanted to do the desert template, but let me see if I can change it quickly. There is a desert, so you can actually create environments that you can walk yourself around, and you can put components in the environment to create kind of training platforms and walkthroughs. So you can add these components here, these images, these org charts, and these libraries and these component parts to a visual kind of representation. So we'll talk about this in more detail in a few months' time, probably in January or February. We'll get a kind of demo sorted and try and find a really exciting use case to show you. But it's all about creating an environment for people to come and take you through a journey or do some training. Do a training on what would I do when I arrive to site, and take you through that platform or that experience. So that space is a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the latest technology in SharePoint. So I've whittled through all the way very quickly. There's not a lot else to show you really. I hope that's been useful. As I said previously, there are a number of other kind of events coming up in the next few months. So we've got advanced features in Power BI on Wednesday the 17th. We've got Power Apps for beginners as well. So if you're interested in Power Apps and you'd like to see that, that's 24th of November. And the 1st of December, we've got delivering projects and portfolios in Microsoft 365, which I'll be doing again. So hopefully you're not too bored by this one. Hopefully you found this useful. As I say, thanks for attending. It's great doing these. I think this is actually our 52nd event this year, which is pretty awesome. So thank you to the marketing team for supporting us and helping us get this content out to the audience. I'm pretty sure last time I checked, we had well over 1,000 attendees attend all our webinars as well throughout the year, which I'm really proud of. So thank you for attending, and hope it was useful and insightful to yourself. And hopefully you're going to use some of this stuff I've shown you today, even a couple of the things that I've shown you today. If you can use those and see value from those features in your own business or your own examples or use cases, that would be great. That's the idea of doing these things. So if you have any other questions, please do feel free to email us at info@icotechservices.co.uk. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Indeed, Twitter. You can even go on to Spotify. Shocker, I know we're on Spotify. It's pretty cool. Doing our roundtables and posting them on there. Or give us a call if you need to speak to us. If you've got any questions or you want a further session with myself or one of the team here, more than happy to jump on a call and show you or answer any questions that you have throughout the session. So hopefully you found that useful. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. If you've got any other questions, please do feel free to put them in the chat window. No problem, Kirsty. Thank you for your comments. Yes, Spaces is really cool. We're really looking forward to showing you Spaces and showing people what we can do with that. That was a super quick tour of SharePoint. Apologies if I went too quickly. As I said at the start of the call, this will be available on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can watch us back in slow time and pause me, hopefully you'll find it useful and be able to use the service more. Any other questions, please do let me know. And other than that, thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and hopefully catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Thank you.